Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Dad FF, joined as always by my main man at FF Snoog. And, we're at this point in the season, we're starting to get excited about rookies. We just did an entire show on rebuilds. Some of these rookies are really starting to emerge. And Snoog and I are going to bring you guys some rookie values to Smash that are going to absolutely increase in value. They're going to win you some championships, whether this year or in years future. And Snoog, this rookie class is not disappointed. We've had elite production from the big dogs. We've seen it from Warren. We've seen it from McBuka. Dart's been incredible. Today's show, we're going to talk about guys who haven't quite hit their value yet, but they're about to.
Yeah, historically speaking, Dad, rookies are known for second half of the year breakouts. You're starting to see a lot of these guys on this list coming to fruition here, living up to the hype. And you also have some guys here coming back from injury. Some of the big heavy hitters in the class, Hampton, Hunter's now on the IR, but expected to be back for the latter half of the year. So I'm excited to jump through this list, talk about some of the guys we think are going to have some big breakouts. Snap shares are ramping up. Offenses have good schedules rest of the season. Starting with this guy, Dad, 5 touchdowns in 4 weeks. Hit on your guy here.
Yeah, for me, it's RJ Harvey. I mean, he was my guy all offseason. He was a guy that I was buying into. They signed J.K. Dobbins, and J.K. Dobbins has been really good. He's been the bell cow. You look at the snap percentage, and I'm going to throw some things up here from Sleeper just so you guys can kind of see. But, I mean, his snap percentage is in the 20s almost every game. Even the last 2 weeks where he scored 5 touchdowns and was the RB11 and the RB8 respectively, he finished with snap shares of 27% and 32%. And I don't think this is a guy that was a bell cow in college. So this isn't a situation where we have a smaller Woody Marks type running back who's not going to be able to shoulder the load. RJ Harvey's been a guy that has in the past. He's had one game this entire year over 10 rushes. He finishes the RB12. So now that you start to look at it, the resume is starting to really ramp up. The explosiveness is ramping up. He's had 3+ receptions in 5 out of his last 7 games. Snoog, I think we could see RJ Harvey, no lie, be a league winner. I think if J.K. Dobbins were to go down to injury, and right now you're seeing him as a really nice flex play. And I think at that current price that we're flashing up there, I have him as my RB 16 in Dynasty, roughly worth the 110. And next year's class is not very running back heavy when you get towards the latter part of the first. There's some real good guys at the top. I would argue that RJ Harvey was probably RB3 in next year's class. And I think RJ Harvey's a guy that I really want to invest in because you see the writing on the wall. I mean, we got a couple of big time games coming up. They got lost. They got, the bye week coming up in week 12. Then they get Washington, Las Vegas. They start to get a real nice steady flow here of solid games. And I'm buying in on RJ Harvey. I think you're going to see him just steadily increase his workload. You're going to see him get some opportunity. And if you see J.K. Dobbins go down, I mean, this is the type of guy that you want to buy in on. You want to start making some insulated trades where if you're middle of the range, playoff area, you offer up Saquon Barkley for RJ Harvey in a first. And RJ Harvey ends up balling out. You get good, solid production from him down the stretch. That's how winning is done. That's how you do things for insulated dynasty trades. All offseason, we've been saying this is a great tight end class. Oronde Gadsden has popped off. Tyler Warren has popped off. And this past week, and the price has risen. A day or two ago, I would have said more like 112, but Colston Loveland exploded against the Bengals in week 9.
Finally healthy, finally getting, used to that Ben Johnson offense. Ben Johnson comes in as the head coach. The first big splash play he makes as the head coach for the Bears is taking Colston Loveland 10th overall. Him and Warren were both elite tight end prospects in my mind coming out, had first-round grades on both of them. Loveland just had a masterclass of a game, and he had that phenomenal touchdown to win the game at the end here, Dad. But you can see the usage is ramping up. I mean, just the week before that, he had an 81% snap share against Baltimore, 5 targets, looking promising, and then he comes out, has another 81% snap share against the Bengals. So these are the 2 career highs for him in terms of snap share going into the season. And it's like, you want to see this from a guy, right? A guy 10th overall. He's got all the tools. He's finally healthy. He's playing at a high level with Caleb Williams. The team, the coaching staff, they're all speaking very highly of him. Caleb Williams said that's why we drafted Colston that high. He's a playmaker. He's that type of talent. He's going to trust him, lean on him more. Komet's injured. DJ Moore and Roma Dunze are the guys there, but I think Loveland's the clear-cut number 2 option there behind Roma Dunze for the latter half of the year. I just don't think DJ Moore is quite going to be there. He's more of that gadget guy. Burden's injured right now. Kokomet's injured right now. So I just see Colston Loveland, Dad, the usage is going to continue to ramp up 6 to 8 to 10 targets a game for the rest of the season. I could see with the highs being on the 10 targets per game, but Caleb Williams is going to lean on his guy. Like, you want that tight end to be that piece. You don't take a tight end 10th overall if you don't have a big play and plan for him. And I think this was the start to something special for the rest of the season. Do I think he's going to be, a 300+ point Brock Bowers, Trey McBride scorer the rest of the year? No. But I think he can be a top 5 to 8 tight end rest of the season. And for you redraft folks listening, that's a steal, because a lot of the guys on redraft in the Discord and on Twitter were like, I just picked up Colston Loveland off the waivers this week. Like, what do I do with him now? It's like, you start him if you can, right? And if in Dynasty, as rebuilders, I was like, go throw out a pair of seconds for Loveland. Go throw out Warren for Loveland in a 27 first. Go out, throw out Gadsden for Loveland in a first. And a lot of people were capitalizing on that, and it looks good right now. So I'm excited for this Bears offense. Caleb's looking better every week. Ben Johnson's offense is coming to piece, and Roma Dunze and Colston Loveland are the futures of this offense.
Yeah, before this week, I think you could have gave Gadsden in a second and got Loveland in a first. That's kind of out the window. I think you nailed it there. He's going to be a guy that we're investing in down the stretch, someone that could put up massive points. The next one I'm looking at here, and you're like, Dad, why is this low-hanging fruit? And the answer is no. Ashton Jeanty right now, a lot of people think is not worth the 101 next year. So I put the 102 plus, the RB4 overall in Dynasty. We still have Jonathan Taylor slightly above, but I think as the day the season ends, no matter what he does, I think you're going to go ahead and be worth more than Jonathan Taylor. Like, Jonathan Taylor will fall off in value in the offseason. That's just the way the cyclical Dynasty world works. And Ashton Jeanty, you look at what he has actually done. And when he gets 20+ touches like he did in college, if you look at this past week, Jacksonville has a very good run defense, top 10 in stopping the fantasy producers. 13 for 42, that's not exciting. 5 receptions on 5 targets, 47 yards and a touchdown, and he finishes at the RB5. You look at him 2 weeks ago, was a very tough matchup against KC, but before that, he had a nice stretch going where RB1 against the Bears with 21 for 138. He finished as top 15 running backs back-to-back in weeks 5 and 6. And this offensive line is disgusting. It's horrible. The worst in football. And if you buy low on Ashton Jeanty right now, you are going to you're seeing his floor. And right now his floor looks like he's the RB13 in fantasy for the season. A lot of people, if you asked him where he's at, they wouldn't put him anywhere close to that. They would say, this guy's been a real bust. And I think it's just because we put him up so high, so early. We put him as a round 1, redraft pick, as a round 2 startup pick. And I think people are upset because they're not getting the same level of production that they thought they would. But the production as a rookie, I mean, you're starting to see it ramp up. It went from, RB 24, 37, and 41 to 1, 15, and 12. This past week, RB 5. I think he's a staple running back 1 the rest of the way. Pete Carroll wants to keep his job. He's not looking good there, in Las Vegas. The best way to do that is let Ashton Jeanty be beast mode 2.0. If you can buy him right now, I mean, I would take the opportunity. I bought him for Quinshon Judkins in a second. I love Judkins, but I just think Jeanty's another level talent, in my opinion. Judkins has been great. I think you can take a lot of these veterans that are really popping off, and you can add a first to a Chase Brown and get Ashton Jeanty because he's been playing so well. You can add a first and a second to Rico Dowdle because people are going crazy. I'm trying to go ahead and buy as many shares of Ashton Jeanty as possible because as soon as this season is over, he's the RB3. And I think even if you have the 101, I think Jeremiah Love's landing spot's going to be huge, but he's going to be slotted in that same tier. These guys are well worth it, as is the next guy. Like we have talked about how great this class looked coming into the process. Omarion Hampton, still worth the 102, clearly the RB2. I think Jeremiah Love slightly over him for next year. But our RB6 in Dynasty, I'm buying. You have a window here. Kamani Vidal's been solid. He's had some ups and downs, and that's because his prospect, Kamani Vidal, is not bulletproof by any stretch of the imagination. He's a late-round pick. But Omarion Hampton is going to be your set-it-and-forget-it RB1 in Dynasty for the next 3-4 years. this is the guy that you got to go out there. And people are worried because it doesn't sound like he's going to come back until after their bye week in week 12. So a lot of managers are starting to panic. You have an opportunity to buy. Now's the shot.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a guy that was averaging 15 plus fantasy points per game before the injury. He's on this, elite scoring offense right now. Justin Herbert's playing out of his mind. He's got some big matchups coming up. I think he's going to personally play against the Steelers and against the Jaguars. So I think he's coming back this week, hopefully. I mean, he missed 4 games. He's looking forward. It's looking towards that trending direction for him to get back on the field. But Steelers and Jags are 2 big games right before the bye, if he can make those. And then once he comes back from the bye, Dad, he's got Vegas, he's got KC, he's got Dallas. Some of these teams that have been, defenses haven't been the top in the league, and they've been struggling a little bit in that run game front. But I think that it doesn't even matter who they play, right? Like the O-line, I know Joel and Slater are out. They're missing some other guys, but it's still a capable O-line, a lot better than what Jeanty has over there in Vegas. And the offense itself, like, he's guaranteed getting 4 or 5 checkdowns a game from Herbert, and then he's guaranteed getting 15 to 20 touches in the run game. So it's like the volume in that second half year breakout from a rookie running back is what I'm banking on with Omarion Hampton. And some of these big matchups like Dallas in week 16, that could send you to the championship right then and there with a 30, 40-point game from Omarion Hampton. Steelers and Jags next week. He's got the bye. He's got the Raiders. I see 4 really good games for him to kind of get back on track here. I think he's definitely worth, a first plus, or it's like what you said, Dad. If you're rebuilding, right, start turning Josh Jacobs and Christian McCaffrey and some of these guys into Omarion Hampton, right? They want the production now. You want to shed points. Go get Omarion Hampton. And for those that are contending, now's a great time to start turning, Kyron Williams and some of these other guys, Chase Brown's plus into Omarion Hampton to get that foundational asset, just 22 years old on an elite offense.
Yeah, and this one's going to be a little bit different. This is definitely for, rebuilding. I've gone full circle, right? I did not own – I drafted 1 share of Travis Hunter during the rookie season, but I've been picking him up as people started to sour on him, and I think right before that bye week, I had him listed as a smash play going into week 9. Unfortunately, gets injured at practice. But Snoog, when Brian Thomas Jr., struggled, and when they were playing against the Rams, I mean, wide receiver 9, 14 targets, 8 receptions, 101 yards, had a touchdown, had a carry. The target share was fantastic. Everything was there. Everything was pointing towards, okay, this is potentially their guy. And the Brian Thomas Jr. trade rumors started up. So I think Travis Hunter right now, if he was in the 2026 draft class, would still be the wide receiver 1. So I'm comfortable paying the 103. I don't think you have to. Based on the fact that he's injured, I think you can take a Devontae Adams plus and get him on if someone's contending and they have Travis Hunter. I think there's a lot of opportunities to buy Travis Hunter, but when I see the writing on the wall like it was, this guy has the talent. We saw the flash. Unfortunately, it wasn't a continued flash, but I think I would take him over Tate. I would take him over Tyson, depending on where those guys land. I think that'll be an important part. But this offense seems like it's geared towards Travis Hunter. It is not geared towards Brian Thomas Jr. like we want to be. Trade Brian Thomas Jr. to the 49ers to pair up with Mac Jones. But this is unfortunate.
Look at that
I'm
snap
all
share.
in. Yeah.
Past 2 weeks before he got hurt, that snap share was ridiculously high. Like, played the lowest defensive snaps he's played in those 2 weeks as well, Dad. So it's definitely going towards the right direction.
Yeah. And he's out at least weeks 9, 10, 11, and 12. But week 13 is Tennessee, bottom 5. Indianapolis twice. Indianapolis is great against the run, but not so much against the pass. They give up top 5 numbers there as well. So he has a really juicy schedule coming up if he is able to come back. And I believe it sounds like he's going to. And this is kind of interesting to me because we have a little bit of a role reversal here of who we're talking to. He was your guy all off season. This was my guy all off season. But Tetairoa McMillan is just a product of Bryce Young being horrible. But Tetairoa McMillan has gotten the volume. He's gotten the flash. I think he's going to increase in value.
Yeah, yet to post a 20-plus point game this season. I don't even think he's broken 18 points this year. It's been a lot of, 8 to 10 to 9 target games, just not a lot there. A lot of games below 5 receptions. A lot of missed touchdown passes or underthrown or too high, and he's got his hands on. Like, there's been a lot of what if with Tet McMillan this year, but I see the talent. I see the separation skills. They got New Orleans next week. They got the Falcons, San Fran, the Rams, New Orleans again after the bye, Tampa Bay again. Like, he's got some smash matchups coming up for, maybe play behind games where the Panthers are losing and they got to throw a bunch. Like, I think he's going to get back on track. He's definitely a candidate for a second half year breakout. Obviously, a lot of the rookie wide receivers that fit that criteria have been, top 10 picks, first round picks, players that, have target share like he does. I mean, he's hit 8+ targets in 6 games this year. So it's definitely there for him. And I think that the skill set, the talent, and being the only target in the passing game for the Panthers is all signs pointing towards Ted McMillan breaking out, not to mention all the easy matchups that he has coming up as well. So I really do think that Ted McMillan's a strong candidate for a second half year breakout. A lot of the times it's rookie wide receivers that are the ones too.
Yeah. My man has had target shares of 83% or more in every single game. He's had above 8 targets in 6 games, but he's only been a wide receiver 1 once. He finishes wide receiver 11 on a down week at 16.9. So not what we've expected for a lot of us that have taken him at 102, 103. Not that we're giving up, because he's wide receiver, at this point, he's still wide receiver 20 on the season, which is a solid rookie season. But if you see him post together 5 or 6 big games in a row with 100+ yards, I think we could really
BTJ did it.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take Andy Dalton starting for a 5-game stretch, not against Buffalo, but against other teams where Andy Dalton's just going to pepper him, because Andy Dalton has always peppered his number one. The next one here, I love it, because I was pounding the drum as this is a guy that in redraft, you guys have to go ahead and you have to. The writing was on the wall. Kyle Monangai, the last couple of weeks, you saw him, his snap share go up to 34%, 45%, 46%, finishes the RB12 in week 7. Then he gets his shot, Snoog. And I know it was a shootout, and I know it was the Bengals, but 74% snap share, finishes the RB3 with 26 for 176, 6.77 per carry, 5 targets. He 100% has earned what everybody wanted in the past, was that he was going to be, at least the David Montgomery role. And I think that's where we're at now. He is going to be at least in that. Yep. And we know that I have him right now. I have him worth the 211. I would pay a little bit more, because I think we're a DeAndre Swift injury away from him potentially taking over. And this is, you see San Francisco in week 17, Green Bay's in week 16. Green Bay just got absolutely torched by Rico Dowdle, a similar type running back. I mean, he's got a couple of tough matchups in here coming up, and I understand that. But I think if you can go ahead and you can offer, after this, if you look at a rebuilding team that has Kyle Monangai and offering them a pair of thirds, they're going to be like, good, get him off my roster. I don't want them fantasy points. And I think there's a non-zero chance that he's the starter in 2026. I think Swift has been good enough that he maintains it. But if Swift were to get injured, Swift tapers off, you have one of these scenarios where he's talented enough to really shoulder the load. 26 carries. DeAndre Swift hasn't had that once all year. This is a more of a bell cow in that David Montgomery role for Ben Johnson. A rookie I love to see, someone that you and I, when we did those 13 rookies to draft and redraft, and just throw a guy in there that has opportunity, because Cooper Kupp's washed, beyond washed. Jackson Smith and Jigba has been phenomenal. But it's been Tory Horton who's been a really interesting prospect.
Yeah. When I did the rookie guide back in the springtime, in the late winter, I was super excited with Tory Horton film. Like, he is a technician. He could catch the ball really well. He got open downfield, could kind of win at all 3 levels. I didn't love the draft capital, but honestly, this situation long-term for him is perfect with Sam Darnold alongside Jackson Smith and Jigba. I would love to see more volume and more target opportunity. You could see kind of tied season high targets with 4, but the most intriguing thing to me was the career high snap percentage with 73% this past week. He's been a touchdown machine. I mean, he has 5 touchdowns on the season, and he hasn't even surpassed 50% of snaps until this past week. Week 1 he did, but just barely. But he's barely been playing. He's finally looking like he's getting involved more. I said rookie wide receivers are usually second half breakouts. Guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, and these guys were second half year breakouts when they were rookies. But the biggest thing is like Amon-Ra, Puka, these rookie wide receivers that were day 3 picks or late day 2 picks breaking out in the second half of the year. Do I think Tory Horton's going to be either of those guys? Absolutely not. Do I think Tory Horton can be a strong flex plus the rest of the season? Yes, because the offensive stability there is there. The play calling with Clint Kubiak is there, and he's the clear-cut number 2 in that passing game right now. With Cooper Kupp injured right now, Elijah Arroyo, he's touchdown or bust, it seems like, and I don't really think he's that great of a player. It's Tory Horton and JSN, and he complements JSN well. So definitely a player to keep an eye on, and if you have him in redraft, stash him and see what happens.
All right, so don't yell at me, but TreVeyon Henderson gets his first start. Goes out there, 75% target share. Snoog, before that, he had only been above 50% target share or snap share. One time the entire season. One time. So now you look at it, and we have Ramondre Stevenson might be headed to IR. He's at least injured. Their next 11, the rest of the season, they do not face a single opponent who is not inside the top 10 in fantasy points given up to the running back position. If you look at it, that whole thing is all green. Tampa Bay, Jets, Bengals, Giants, Bills, Ravens, Jets. He faces four bottom 5 run defenses. If he can put this thing together, like, this is something that could be phenomenal. The last 2 weeks, 10 carries for 75, 14 for 55. This past week, 6 targets. That's the most he's had all season after week 1. We've seen the flash there. I think offering up your late first, because a lot of people are going to say, you know what, Dad, TreVeyon Henderson should have blew up this week. You're right, but he didn't play bad. He still showed some of that flash. They still got other people involved, but I think buying him for a late first could prove to be a league winning and a move that could pay you out a lot of money for years to come, because Ramondre Stevenson has not been great. Ramondre Stevenson is just a guy at most times. And I think once we get into 2026, they got to use Henderson more. And I think based off that schedule, Snoog, I'm looking at their schedule, and they only played 2 top 10 run defenses all year. They have just the whole schedule is all green. Speaking of green, green's the color of money. Green's the way that this guy's been playing. Tez Johnson has gotten the opportunity, and he has not wasted it. You know, like, you and I loved him pre-draft process. Then he went late because he weighs less than my 12-year-old son. But he has flashed and looked really good.
He's a baller, man. I mean, he can play. He's had, 3 really good games for a rookie day 3 pick that went in the 7th round, with Evans on IR, Godwin out, and Ibuka kind of battling that hamstring injury. The Bucs have some shootout games coming up, and I do think that it's going to be the Ibuka and Tez show. And I think that Tez Johnson has that big play ability to kind of make or break your matchup with one play, right? Like, he has that 50-plus yard touchdown upside as the deep threat for the Bucs. He also has that upside of catching 4, 5, 6 slants across the middle and crossers. So he's definitely a skill set that you really want to bank on for how cheap he is. And especially in Dynasty, like, he's carving out a role. He's making a name for himself. There's a good chance it's Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan, and Tez Johnson for the future to lead this wide receiver corps. I don't see them ever using a first-round pick on a wide receiver again for a little bit. They need to build the defense more. They need to keep building up that offensive line, get some help on that front. That's where they're going to build. They're going to build in the trenches. Tez Johnson's here to stay. I think he's playing lights out right now, and I think that he's going to have a big game coming back from the bye week. Separator at all 3 levels, fast, can win downfield, good ball player.
Hey, I got one more, and I had to throw this in mid-show. If I don't put it in, the Discord is going to roast me. They are going to roast me. And that's patreon.com/smashaccept. Get you all of our content, everything that we have down there. You get comments like this from Bear. Bro, Dynasty Dad, you're legit AF. And then you got guys like Dion from in there. He's like, my guys. And I know we holy smokes, he just joined the Discord. I see him in the comments, with a bunch of fire emojis. We got Gberg FF. He's been he's producing his own content. He's doing things on TikTok, doing things on Twitter. He has his own room in there. Awesome guy. Make sure you follow him at Gberg FF. But Luther Burden, I think, is really on the cusp here. Every show we do, we talk about potentially buying low on guys that we could insulate with. And I think Luther Burden is one of those guys that, if you're crazy not to kick the tires and just see where the people are at, because he's not been putting up the production. Currently wide receiver 86, but he has a really nice schedule upcoming. He has not had a snap share over 28% all season, but we saw him flash in week 3 against Dallas, and we saw him, little flashes here and there. This guy was a crazy producer in college. DJ Moore, I think there's going to be one way or another, he's off the Bears next year, I think. And Luther Burden takes that role. You might as well get in ahead of time, right? It's better to buy Luther Burden today for a second and a throw in than to wait next year because he's going to cost you a first. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that a lot of these guys, Snoog, end up being worth that area. And Marco Maserati said Rome 0.0 Dunze fall off. I don't think we're going to – I've never seen that, the 0 Dunze. But, guys, this has been a fun show. You know, we've been bringing you guys Dynasty content all year long. We're here to help you guys smash your leagues. We're here to help put you in a position to dominate next year. No better place to do that than right now in the Patreon, patreon.com/smash accept. And Snoog, while I bring out the yearly Discord special that we're doing right now, why don't you tell everybody again, what has been the biggest takeaway for you in the Discord? Is like, it's bigger than what you and I really ever anticipated, but what's your favorite part about it?
My favorite part about it is just being able to wake up and go in there every single day and see, 200 to 500 plus people talking shop 24/7. I know that there's people in there that, only come around big time for the rookie season. Then there's people in there all year round. And then there's people that are big, heavy on the redraft in there. So it's really cool to see all the different people, all the different leagues. I really like seeing the different trades people are making, because even for myself, I'll see a trade. I'm like, damn, I didn't even think to do a trade like that, right? Maybe it's an insulated trade. Maybe it's a rebuilding trade. Maybe it's a going all in contender trade. Like, those are the type of things that I like to see personally, because the reason that people want to follow a brand or a person or get advice, it's for start, sit, help. It's for making trades. It's for, do I contend or rebuild, and how do I do it? And it's, who do I target in rookie drafts? And I'm seeing that every single day in the redraft or in the Smash Accept Discord. And the best thing, Dad, is like that whole Discord already has like 3 to 5 27 firsts in a lot of their leagues. Like, they've been banking on this class since we've been talking about it 2 years ago. They're way ahead of the curve. So that's what we're really trying to do there, is just get ahead of the curve and build out the core and smash your leagues for the years to come.
And now's the best time. At day 25, I woke up on daylight savings and I'm like, let's do something here. 25% off your yearly sub. A lot of you guys have been messaging me on YouTube, on Twitter, on TikTok. When are you going to run us a promo again? We stopped running promos because we were getting so many people in there. But, we're going to do 25% off in whatever tier you want. If you guys want to go basic level, all access, VIP, whatever you guys want, we're going to do 25% off of that. So that's some serious savings there. And we're going to miss on start sits. Everybody does. It's football, right? Like, how many people had Kyle Monangai over Jonathan Taylor this week? You weren't going to make that advice. But when it comes to process, and we really believe process over results is, from February on, we are going to put you in a spot where next year you're not going to ask, should I start this guy or that guy? You're not going to ask, should I be starting Josh Downs or, Tyler Lockett? You're not going to be asking those kind of questions. You're going to be like, all right, at this point, should I start beast number 1 and beast number 2? We're going to put you in a position to do that. So again, there's your code. We hope to see you guys in there. Patreon.com/smash accept. So thanks again for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the process.